Hello, today we're going to make some sweet potato dinner rolls. Think potato rolls, potato bread, but a little different texture. And I'm using sweet potatoes that I had cooked up this morning from my harvest this past fall. I have a cup of hot water, think of shower temperature water. I have a room temperature stick of salted butter and 2 room temperature eggs in my bowl. I'm going to pour off about half of the hot water, and then I'm going to add a tablespoon of yeast. I buy it bulk because I make a lot of bread products. So I'm gonna put a tablespoon of yeast in there, and then I'm gonna add, to activate the yeast, to get the little sweetener it needs, I'm gonna add a little bit of corn syrup. And when I taught science, we actually did a science experiment to see which of the sweeteners would make the yeast activate the best, and it was corn syrup. So I usually activate my yeast in corn syrup. I'm gonna get a fork and give it a little bit of a stir. And then set that aside for about 5 minutes, and it should bloom pretty nicely, and we'll see in just a second. While that's getting activated, I'm gonna go ahead and finish up my ingredients in this bowl. I have my cup of sweet potatoes, as I said, I cooked up this morning. I'm gonna put those in there. 2 teaspoons of salt. And we like our dinner rolls pretty sweet. It's up to you how you like them, but I'm gonna put a half a cup of brown sugar packed and a 1/4 cup of regular granulated sugar, okay? And this is gonna make 24 fairly good sized dinner rolls, depending on how long you let them rise, but they're pretty good sized dinner rolls. We're gonna mix that up and give our yeast a little bit more time to go ahead and activate. We'll be right back. As you can see, this has bloomed nicely. So I'm gonna add it into my wet ingredients in the bowl, and then I'm gonna start adding flour gradually. The butter doesn't have to be, notice I still have clumps of butter. It doesn't have to be completely broken down to big, smaller pieces, but we're gonna add flour gradually. I add quite a bit at a time because I kind of know about how much I need and when the dough comes together. And then, as I keep adding, I'm gonna let you see it at the end, but I'm gonna stir it as long as I can. If you have a dough hook on your mixer, by all means do that. When I have smaller amounts of dough, I go ahead and use my hands to knead, but either way, it's your choice. But I work in as much of the flour as I can until it starts pulling away from the bowl, and then I dump it out into a floured surface, and then we're gonna knead it for about 5 to 7 minutes. Okay, I just turned it out onto my floured surface. It's still pretty sticky. I'm gonna continue adding and then working that flour in. I push, this is my style of kneading. Other people have different ways of doing it, but I just keep on working on flour, and you're gonna keep doing this and adding flour until it stops sticking to the surface. You want it just to be still sticky and moist, but you want it to kind of get to the point where it's not sticking to the surface, and about 5 to 7 minutes, like I said before. Okay, so I've been kneading it for about 5 to 7 minutes, and as you can see, it's sticking to the surface, but it's not leaving anything behind. That's what you're wanting. And then you're gonna put it in a greased container, something that'll allow it to get to double its size. And then I usually just twirl it in the grease. It's got Pam and a little olive oil. And then I put the grease side up, and then I'm gonna cover it with plastic wrap if it's behaving itself, but you know how plastic wrap is. And then I'm gonna put it in a warm spot to rise until double for about 60 minutes or so, and then we'll form it into rolls. Okay, so my dough's raised, and it raised to about double, and it's nice and pliable, as you can see, and we're gonna divide it into 24 even portions-ish. Even, I don't usually make it exact. You can weigh it out if you'd like to make it exact, but we're just gonna kind of divide it by eyeball, and 24 of them, and then that will be your 24 dinner rolls. And then we're gonna put them, I'm gonna put part of them, I'm gonna bake some of them out right now, and the rest of them I'm gonna put on a greased cookie sheet until they're frozen, and then put them in a nice freezer bag until I'm ready to want to bake them later, and I can use them for later. So we'll get them put on the pan. Okay, so I'm on my last 3 balls of dough that I'm just making into a nice little ball. And I have, this is a double batch, that's why there's more than what I had said this makes. So I have 40 rolls here, and then I have 8 rolls over here covered with saran wrap on a heating pad, doubling, so I can bake them off, and then I'll have those ready to show you as soon as they get baked. I didn't know if I remembered to say, but that flour that I added to these rolls was bread flour. I'm gonna cover this pan, there's 40 rolls, see them, with plastic wrap and freeze them, and then once they're frozen, I'm gonna put them in freezer bags, and they can be thawed out in the refrigerator overnight on a cookie sheet, and then put out on someplace warm to double in size, and then you can bake them off like normal. As you can see, the rolls have pretty close to doubled. They'll rise a little bit more in the oven. It is an enriched dough, which means that it has like milk fats, like the butter, so it doesn't rise quite as good as if it didn't have that. I had it sliding around, but we're gonna stick this in a preheated 345 degrees. Okay, so they're fresh out of the oven, nice and hot, and I'm just going to break open this one. You can see the nice yummy texture. I don't know if you can see the steam. It's steaming like crazy. And I'm going to stick a slab of butter in there. And when I was younger, I thought I needed jam and other toppings, but for me right now, one of the best is just to eat it with some butter. So once again, the recipe I gave you was for 24 dinner rolls, and it's a sweet potato based roll. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, please comment, let me know. But like, share, follow, whatever you need to do. I'd appreciate it. Thank you.